Hi, I'm Dan Hoffman. Welcome to Farm Connections. On today's show, we're going to talk about nonprofits with Dr. Reed Zimmerman. We're going to learn about Madison Taylor's career goals, Ken TC talks crop insurance, and we get a first-hand look at a livestock auction in Zumbrota, Minnesota. Stay with us, Farm Connections is next.
Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
Brought to you in part by Absolute Energy, a locally owned facility producing 115 million gallons of ethanol every year, proudly supporting local economies in Iowa and Minnesota. Absolute Energy, adding value to the neighborhood.
We're at Central Livestock Association in Zumbrota, Minnesota, and with me is Bob Young, the manager. Welcome to Farm Connections, Bob.
Nice to be here, Dan.
Well, and thanks for letting us join you on sale day. There's a lot happening today. Tell us about it.
Well, typically, we have a sale on Mondays and Wednesdays. Today happens to be a Wednesday. We'll be selling livestock here on right around noon. We start the actual sale today, and we go through it until we're done and go from there. Typically on Mondays we'll sell market cows, followed by fat cattle, and followed by feeder cattle after fat cattle, and then we go down and we sell baby calves at 4 o'clock in the other ring.
Once they get to your unloading facilities, what happens?
They actually get booked in. They come through the drive-through. Typically a breeding stock or such like that, we have to follow the regulation that we put an identification tag on. Them cows all get put into pens. Now we'll start out this morning with either fat cattle or cows, depending on which way we want to go. It's kind of usually designated by numbers, and then we go from there. But when they leave the truck, they get put into pens, and they're housed there for typically the livestock gets here, and within 24 hours it's usually gone again.
We're noticing that the livestock's well cared for. Can you tell us about the training the employees go through and what happens to the livestock as they move through the facility?
Everybody, when they first start, fortunately a lot of these people are seasoned people that come along with when we purchase this property, but typically we're all PQA'd and TQA'd, which are certified. We go through classes typically 2-3 times a year. We know the right procedure of how to handle livestock and try to practice some methods, and it's just something that I guess being the manager and being in the business for so long, I think that the animals are a livelihood.
So what's special about this? Why doesn't a farmer just take the animal to a packing plant or a harvesting facility?
Well, there is some farmers that choose to do it that way. I quite honestly probably a little prejudiced that I like the auction system because I think it's true price discovery. So I think it's a way of putting the animals in front of a bunch of different buyers and allowing them to find the true value of it. So.
For both the buyer and the seller?
Correct.
And each buyer has a bidding number. What's the significance of that?
Well, they all represent their own little special interests. Some of them are order buyers, some of them are company buyers, and we have Tyson here, we'll have American Food Groups, we'll have JBS, we'll have O&S Cattle Company, which represents probably 10-12 different interests, maybe more than that.
And some days you have feeder livestock sales, correct?
Yes. September through April, we have feeder cattle sales every other week on Thursdays. Typically, they're purchased by order buyers, again, by farmer buyers. On a typical Monday, we'll sell feeder cattle at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, usually after the fat cattle sale. Typically on any given Monday, probably 300 to 400 head. So.
And where do those feeders go when they're sold?
Basically, if a farmer buyer buys them, they go back to his feedlot. If an order buyer buys them, they could go any number of places.
Bob, what do you do for the producer to help ensure that they get a good price for the livestock?
Well, part of our job, mine and 4 or 5 other guys that go to the country, we actually assess the livestock on out in the country before it ever gets here and give you some ideas whether, number one, whether it's ready to come to market, number two, what you might expect as a market value of it, and you know, all in all, kind of oversee that. And then as far as, you know, what we do here to ensure that kind of ability in the sheep and goat industry, obviously, is everything has to have scrapie tags. That's something that the federal government started, I don't know, probably 6-7 years ago now. And if they're don't have scrapie tags for their herd numbers, obviously the Anderson Vet Services are on site here. They can take care of that. And the same way with the new tags for the breeding stock and the boars and sows and the hogs.
And why is that important?
Well, I think it comes back to a traceability thing that obviously with some of the issues at BSC from years ago here, we all practice the traceability. We should be able to find out within a certain length of time, a short time, who actually owned that livestock if there's any issues that come in. I think the scrapie tags are an identification of where that animal actually come from. They can trace back. It's the same thing with the new pin tags that are going into the pigs. And obviously the back tags on cows and bulls and stuff like that is the same process.
So you are selling some breeding stock here as well?
Yeah, we actually have a bull sale every June, and we have some bred cow sales in December and February every year. Actually, the bulls are run through Anderson Vets and semen tested to make sure they're sound and of quality. And same thing with the bred cows and stuff like that. They're sleeved to make sure that they're bred and get an idea when they're going to calf and go forward.
What other species are you selling here, Bob?
We sell sheep and goats 4 days a week. We have an auction sale that's been very successful for both buyer and seller on Tuesday mornings. We sell hogs, primarily private treaty, 4 days a week here. And in the facilities that Central owns, we've marketed over 500,000 animals last year.
What else happens here besides just market discovery?
Well, I think Central in general, I think is a company. We've been around 94 years, so we're not a new company. I think that I like to say we have a toolbox full of tools that we use. I mean, we're allowed to source cattle for you, we're allowed to sell cattle for you, we're allowed to hedge cattle for you, do the contracting, both hedges with the CME and packer hedges and contracts. And so I think we're kind of a one-stop shop, that's what I like to say.
Bob, I understand you sell other things besides livestock. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we actually have a store on site here called Stockman Supply, selling all kinds of different ag supplies and stuff like that, basically gates, chutes, you name it. That store is open 6 days a week. We have a hay sale that we started here a year ago now, and we sell hay every other Saturday, September through May, and that's been tremendous success.
Bob, what changes have you seen in the livestock auction business in the last few years?
Well, this particular barn here that we're in right now, we have a DV system that you can actually watch it online. It's been an attractive thing for people that can't get to the sale, that want to have somebody represent them in buying livestock.
As we walk through the area and we look at people in the diner and they're socializing and they're leaning up against pickup trucks, there's more than just the auction happening. Can you define that? What's going on out there?
Well, I think it's kind of a gathering point. I think it's kind of like going to the barber shop, you know, and everybody gets together, and we have a group of older guys that come in every Monday and sit down, and I like to say they're hashing all the world problems out, but they say they never solve any, but they have a good time.
Nice. And the farmers, of course, when they come in here, they leave with a paycheck, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They can watch their livestock get sold. Within 10-15 minutes, they're walking out the door with a check. So. And
as they go out into the community, what happens to that paycheck? Does it stay just at their farm or their bank account?
Well, I'm a firm believer that, you know, I think the economy starts with the farmer. I think anybody that knows a farmer would say that he rotates his money. So if he makes money, he spends it on probably agricultural things and stuff like that, but he rotates it. So.
And I noticed walking around and traveling through Zumbrota, they must spend a lot. It's a vibrant community, and I think some of that comes back to the livestock ag.
Oh, I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
Well, thanks for the work you do here. It's a great social gathering. It's a wonderful place for price discovery. Thanks for the work you do, Bob.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Stay tuned. Kent Thesey is up next.
Thank you, Dan. The federal crop insurance program is the main risk management tool that is utilized by crop farmers across Minnesota and the upper Midwest. While the crop insurance program still has strong support in Congress, there are some members of Congress and some organizations calling for major changes to the program. The crop insurance program typically involves farmers taking what's called revenue protection coverage, which insures against losses due to both yield and prices. For example, if a corn producer has an 10-year average yield of 175 bushels an acre, and the average price at the beginning of the crop year is $4 a bushel, they would have a target revenue of $700 an acre. A farmer then signs up for crop insurance coverage ranging from 60 to 85%. At the 80% level, their revenue guarantee would be $560 an acre. If the actual crop revenue in a given year falls below the $560 per acre level, that farmer would earn an indemnity payment. For example, if the actual yield was 140 bushels an acre and the average price in the fall, in October, $3.50 a bushel, the final revenue is $490 an acre, and that farmer would then receive the difference between $560 and $490, or $70 per acre. Many have accused crop insurance as providing a windfall to farm operators. However, in 2014 and 15, and probably going forward with more moderate prices, crop insurance, most indemnity payments most likely are covering the costs of seed, fertilizer, chemicals, fuel, and land rent, and not providing any extra dollars for capital investments or family living. Back many years ago, Congress subsidized crop insurance at the rate of about 60% to encourage more farmers to purchase crop insurance. A tip on the example we had earlier, that crop insurance coverage would cost about $15 per acre for that producer. Some organizations and members of Congress feel that the crop insurance program is too expensive and is skewed toward larger farm operations, and would like to reduce this federal subsidy and have farmers cover a greater share of the crop insurance premium costs. Others would like to limit the number of acres that can be covered by crop insurance, or restrict the total amount of indemnity payments a farmer can receive. Most farm families are hoping that the crop insurance program remains as a viable risk management tool for the future of their farm operation. This is Kent Thesey, and we'll be back next time.
We're back, and I'm joined with Reed Zimmerman, an expert on nonprofits. Welcome to Farm Connections, Reed.
Good to be here, Dan.
Well, what makes you an expert on nonprofits anyway?
It's an interesting question. It's partly because I've studied them and I've been involved with nonprofit organizations for the last 30, 35 years. Mostly here in Minnesota, but in a variety of different capacities.
Well, you've had some executive director positions. You've also taught at the college level, correct?
Correct. Graduate school and undergraduate, nonprofit management, everything from governance to fundraising and a variety of different topics.
Well, you know, a lot of our audience is in rural Minnesota. How are nonprofits impacting our communities?
The nonprofit sector is often called the third sector, I like to consider it really as the first sector, because nonprofits really support those facets of our society which are, I believe, of the highest quality of life. They really underpin what we are as a democratic society. They support the arts, welfare, health, human services, education, those things that we have come to know as citizens in a very open and democratic society. Nonprofit organizations aren't coerced into providing these services for us. Volunteers in those organizations do it willingly, and it's really one piece of what makes us as American society unique.
Well, how do we compare to other countries around the world in respect to that?
Well, I'm going to digress here to my academic side for just a moment and bring us back historically to the early 1800s. There was a French historian and sociologist by the name of Alexis de Tocqueville, who came to the U.S. to visit and look at what this burgeoning democracy was doing here that was different from Europe. And he came and he ended up writing a couple of books entitled Democracy in America. But here's a quote. He said, "I must say that I have seen Americans make a great deal of real sacrifices to the public welfare, and have noticed 100 instances in which they hardly ever failed to lend a faithful support to one another." And what Alexis went on to talk about was that in the world at that time, American democracy and the social sector of that, the volunteer sector, created hospitals and prisons and took care of people in a way that was quite unique in the world that he knew. Now, certainly things have changed, but Minnesotans are known nationwide and internationally for the volunteerism that we do, the way that we support the arts, the food shelves, the youth soccer leagues, the things that make our life so rich. So we're proud to live in a state that really supports the sector, does good work, and rural Minnesota is in many ways head and shoulders above other parts of the state and other parts of the country, because it really is more grassroots. People know each other better.
It's fascinating. In a comparison in a worldwide setting, how do we compare in the United States as far as size? What kind of contributions are given?
Well, in the U.S., on an annual basis, we've historically bounced over the top of the $300 billion mark.
It's huge.
It is huge, and I believe a couple of years ago it was over $330 billion. Now, what's interesting is we think as sitting here that, gosh, that's a lot of money, and it must come from the Pew Foundation and the Carnegies and the Kennedys and all of those big philanthropists. And in actuality, 75% of that money comes from individuals. 3/4 of that $300+ billion is generated and given back to society, back to nonprofit organizations, back to other people from individuals. You, me, our families, our grandparents, our children, and that is what I think makes us unique among nations.
It helps define us.
It really does.
Yes.
Yes.
It helps sustain our communities and our families and the way of life that we wish to perpetuate.
Yes, and while a lot of that money goes to churches, to individual congregations and synagogues and mosques, much of that money also from the church comes back into society. So we really are unique and almost extravagant in the way that we support each other in our society and in unique ways that business is really not interested in supporting because there's little profit to be made, and where government doesn't have the legality, the law behind it to support those kinds of things.
Well, let's say somebody in the audience is hearing you, Dr. Zimmerman, and saying, how do I volunteer? What can I do? What opportunities exist?
That's as easy as turning around and walking around the block or looking at downtown in your community. There are certainly sports organizations that kids need coaches to help them. Schools are are always looking for mentors to help kids learn to read. The food shelf certainly looks to you as an individual to support them both with food and with money so that they can support those who are in a tough position right now. Everything from arts organizations to hospitals to schools to food shelves to sports organizations, they all need volunteers to help. So find something you're interested in. Check out what it is that you'd like to do and look around.
It doesn't look difficult to find some way to contribute to nonprofits.
No, not at all. There are also statewide organizations, the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, MAP for Nonprofits, Charities Review Council. There's a lot of other organizations that help bolster and support that sector here in our state, and that are all full of ideas and opportunities on how an individual or a small group, be that maybe a Kiwanis group or a chamber, a club or organization, can help drive the sector and support each other.
And helping nonprofits helps our communities and defines who we are.
And it really is about helping somebody else. It's about helping somebody else find a better position, learn something, grow in some way.
Tremendously interesting. Thank you, Dr. Zimmerman.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time.
Happy to be here.
Stay tuned for Ag 101.
Exploring career opportunities in agriculture. Ag 101. Funding for Ag 101 provided by the Ag Star Fund for Rural America.
Hi, we're here with Madison Taylor today with the Randolph FFA chapter. She's a freshman at the University of Minnesota, been very active in Randolph FFA, and we want to talk a little bit about careers. So what are your career plans, Madison?
So currently I'm a freshman studying agricultural education here at the University of Minnesota, and I'm only in my second semester, so I'm pretty new to the whole college aspect of things. So my career plans are to pursue my degree in leadership and communication, so agriculture, leadership, and comm, and then pursue my master's degree in agricultural education so that when I graduate, I'll graduate within 5 years with a master's degree in agriculture education in hopes to teach high school agriculture to students and become an FFA advisor just like you are, and then potentially teach agriculture to college students.
Very good.
Yeah.
So what caused you to be interested in this field?
So my background consisted of growing up on a century farm. We have canning crops such as peas and sweet corn, and then we have 16,000 turkeys, which we are free range and antibiotic free. So I just always been interested in the agriculture industry. And then as a 9th grader, when I started FFA and having you as my advisor, I really found an interest in the career opportunities through agriculture and knew that all the leadership opportunities and the opportunities for me to gain new skills was incredible. So the industry itself is something that sparked my career goals and helped me follow the path to where I am to find out what college I really wanted to go to and follow my career path here at the University of Minnesota.
So as other students look to their future in agriculture and just the broad field of agriculture, what advice do you have for them in terms of selecting a college and looking at options and opportunities?
So the agriculture industry is very large, and there's definitely a lot of different career paths to follow. Agriculture consists of engineering and technology and sustainability and things like that. So there's many different aspects of it, and then you can break it down into the different industries such as the animal industry or the plant industry and things like that. So through agriculture, there's definitely multiple career opportunities for anybody and any kind of interest. I personally love agriculture education because I have a passion for helping others succeed and making sure that they understand the basic knowledge of agriculture and helping them find a passion within the industry just as I have. So there's definitely ways to get involved through FFA and find what you're interested in agriculture, what your interests are, and then once you know some of the interests, you can definitely find a college that fits those interests within the agriculture industry, and that's when you'll pursue your dreams and hopefully succeed at all your goals.
And of course, a lot of people look at a stumbling block of financial assistance or just the money to go to college. What advice would you have for students in terms of getting through those hurdles?
So personally, I took a lot of time and spent a lot of my senior year last year applying for as many scholarships as I could, agriculture and non-agriculture related scholarships, and that has helped me tremendously in my first year of college. But it is incredible how many agriculture-based scholarships there are out there for somebody going into an agriculture-related career or having background in agriculture. So that has been something that has been very helpful to me. And currently, and now as a freshman, I'm looking for more scholarships that are based in my agriculture in the basic agriculture industry, so that I can get some more of my school paid for off of some of the academics and activities that I'm pushing to be a part of. And so it's definitely worthwhile putting in the time to study and get the good grades so that you can get those scholarships to help you in your college career.
So as we just quickly summarize, you know, really agricultural education and agriculture in general, it's just about all the opportunities out there for employment, but particularly in agricultural education, with hopes of becoming a teacher. I think that's just a really great asset to, you know, to our schools, to our communities, and to our young people, because agriculture is truly the backbone of our nation. Mm-hmm. And so with that, Madison, I want to thank you very much for sharing a little bit with us today about ag careers.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. I'm always impressed with the people in our rural communities, making them work and work well. Join us on the next Farm Connections.